The boss jock has entered the building. You are listening to the Sportcat Show.
Well, hello, everybody, and happy Friday. I hope everybody's having a great day, and I hope you're getting to enjoy a little sunshine. If you want to come over and join the live chat, we have a live chat actively going. We have Denise in there. Hello, Denise. We have Wendell. KG, welcome. Hello, Wendell. Hello, KG. Hello, Chris. I think I saw. Yeah, Chris is in there. So welcome. I hope you all are having a great Friday. We're going to start off today with, we got a little bit of, we'll start off on our normal stuff. Oh, if I can get my screen to share. Share screen. Yes, there we go. We'll start with our normal, what happened on today is, and then we'll go from there. But we have some breaking news we want to get to, so we'll try and get to that in a hurry. And, I forgot. I got to hit the live button. In case you're interested, we are live on Discord. If I can figure out how to go live. There we go. Apparently I am live. So if you're looking for me, I am on Discord. So you can check me out there. I'm on the Sportcat Daily Gazette in the Para R Normal Guys channel. And I hope that makes sense to anybody that understands Discord, because it doesn't make any sense to me at this time. I'm just being honest. I haven't figured Discord out. So, all right. Well, we start out usually with a little history lesson. If you're new to the show, the Sportcat Daily Gazette, we come in here and we talk about all kinds of silliness. And yes, we do ask that everybody come over to YouTube and subscribe. Hit that thumbs up button. It helps get the notifications out and spreads the word around the YouTubes. And we can always use a few more subscribers because we're trying to get monetized. All right, so we'll go with first thing today in history. If we go all the way back to 1964, they kept records back then? Wow. It was the Great Fire of Rome. It began under Emperor Nero. Yeah, firefighters back then were a total different beast. So, yeah. 1334, Bishop of Florence blesses the first foundation stone for the new Campanile bell tower of the Florence Cathedral. 1925, talk Adolf Hitler. He published the original title that was catchy, 4.5 years of struggle against lies and stupidity. Did somebody hear a noise come in there? I don't know what the hell that was. All right, well, maybe I'm crazy. I swore I heard something come through my headphones. All right, 2023 wildfire season in British Columbia was most destructive on record, burning 14,140 square kilometers of land and surpassing a 2018 record. I wonder how this is going to sign up with today's, because today's fires are pretty big up there. 1959, The Nun story, based on novel by Kathleen Hulme, starring Audrey Hepburn, premiered in L.A. And in Today in Music, 1980. There we go, KG. You'll remember this. Billy Joel's Glass Houses tops U.S. checkers with It's Still Rock and Roll to Me. 1976, Nadia Comaneci became the first gymnast in Olympic history to achieve a perfect 10 score, doing so 7 times to Montreal Games. All right. And famous birthdays, Robert Hooke, no idea who that is. W.G. Grace, George Machine Gun Kelly. Now, there's a name you can get behind. I need that Sportcat Machine Gun. I need a new nickname. Nelson Mandela, wasn't he born or died twice? I don't know. It was a glitch in the system. Richard Branson, Vin Diesel, he's 58 today. Christian Bell, I don't know if you've seen the images circulating that her husband released, but at 45, she's looking pretty good. And Priyanka Chopra, 43rd birthday. I'm going to say I don't know who she is off the top of my head. Let's see. We talked about the fire. The 1843 Virgil Earp is born, and he is a lawman in Hartford, Kentucky. Alongside his brothers, would play a large role in the gunfight at the OK Corral. He was born this day in 1843 in Kentucky. And in 1867, the unsinkable Molly Brown is born. I thought the Molly Brown was a ship. Okay, maybe the ship was named after a socialite philanthropist and prospective Senate candidate. She's best known for her bravery during the sinking of the Titanic, and she helped others escape the vessel. Once in a lifeboat, ferociously tried to convince a crew member to return to the ship and rescue other passengers. In 1899, this is way back before the internet, the newsboy strike begins. In New York City, then the so-called newsies, some as young as 7, went head-to-head with newspaper moguls like William Randolph Hearst and Joseph Pulitzer over the price of a newspaper bundle. The young strikers were initially dismissed. They caused enough havoc to convince them to change their policies. Yes, they did. That was quite the story, actually. In 1954, George Machine Gun Kelly dies. I thought we just said it was his birthday. Maybe I had read that wrong. Died of a heart attack at the federal penitentiary at Leavenworth. Kelly was a notorious gangster during the Great Depression who made headlines for abducting an oil tycoon for ransom. 1969, the Chappaquiddick incident took place. Ted Kennedy's black Oldsmobile just kind of went into a lake there. He killed his 28-year-old passenger, Mary Jo Capenci. In the aftermath of the incident, he fled the scene and hesitated before calling law enforcement, leaving her trapped in the car. His actions trailed him his whole life, as some argue that she could have survived if he waited. 1989, Rebecca Schaefer is murdered. She was shot and killed by stalker Robert John Bardo in Los Angeles. The 21-year-old actress rose into fame through her character on My Sister Sam and hoped to expand into film roles in the aftermath of her murder. And her death helped inspire anti-stalking legislation. All right. And we look at what is today. Every day has a national day. It's tropical. I have no idea what that noise was. It's Tropical Fruit Day. Let me go over here and find this screen. I don't know. It's Tropical Fruit Day. It's National Sour Candy Day. National Caviar Day. Does anybody like caviar? I'm not really a big fan of caviar. Wendell asked, how long was I out of effect during the newspaper strike? It wasn't, I was out of work during the newsboy strike. I was out of work during the comic boy strike when they were selling them on the street corners. Wendell, get your story straight. So, and yes, Denise, I do believe that was the Mandela effect. So today is Nelson Mandela Appreciation Day. It's World Listening Day. I want to thank everybody for listening to me pontificate. And it's the birthday of Don Luis Manaz Rivera. It's Insurance Nerd Day. Okay. There's nerds for insurance. I don't know what that noise is. I'm going to guess it's Discord. Kerpuja Day, National Caviar Day, National Dapper Your Data Day, National Sour Candy Day. What's your favorite sour candy? It's the Perfect Family Day. And cultural is, I don't even know how to pronounce that. Perfluensic, I don't know. I'm not even going to try. Uruguay Constitution Day. All right, so there's that. All right, let's see. Well, let's dive into, we have some breaking news, and this may have updated since my headlines. But in Los Angeles, at a Los Angeles Sheriff's Department facility in Monterey Park, there was an explosion, and they're investigating at the facility, and at least 3 people have died. And this was at the time of the incident, so it's a little, I'm dated on this a little bit, but it appeared to be at the Sheriff's Department's training compound where they keep the special enforcement units and bomb squad. It appears something may have exploded outside near a law enforcement vehicle. And LAFD and LAPD and bomb squad were en route, but so far, at least as of the time we went live, there was nothing new to report. So if we find out something on that, we will follow up on it. And there's been a rash of 911 phone lines go down. And this one is in Umatilla County. And their call center is down. And they're rerouting it to another county. And I also read that there was a Pennsylvania state. The entire system was experiencing some difficulties. So, all right. Well, that's a good question that I don't know the answer to because it's still happening, still unfolding. And it's funny you say that. If you remember a story we talked about in New York City, talking about the guy who had all the gas cylinders and things. Well, it seems as though they're circling back, and there may be more to that story. So I'm going to do some digging on that over the weekend, but that could possibly have been a thwarted attempt. Hopefully not a false flag. All right, so we'll get a little silliness in here, but apparently Sesame Street had a problem when Elmo's X account was, well, it was hijacked. It was hacked. One of the most beloved personalities from Sesame Street, Elmo, his presence on X, where fans follow the family-friendly character, well, his account was hacked, resulting in some posts being shared that prompted an apology from the Sesame Workshop. The posts have since been deleted after they regained control of Elmo's account. Elmo went wild, but screenshots continue to circulate on social media. One post bluntly called for the extermination of Jews, while another tagged U.S. President Donald Trump, calling for him to release all the information of the Jeffrey Epstein case. And one profanity-laden post included some more anti-Semitic comments, and they were referring to Trump as Netanyahu's puppet, and others were just flat out using racial slurs. So, yeah. And of course, there's been all kinds of other controversies, but Elmo went off the rails, or he was hacked. The official story is he was hacked. Some of the tweets that he did have were the X's, whatever, released the files Donald Trump. Yeah, there were some bad ones in there too. So yeah, Elmo went off the rails there a little bit. So yeah, but they did release a statement. Apparently, Sesame Street was hacked. And Chris, I don't know. This could have been terrorism. Elmo went off the rails. Either that or Elmo's now taking meth. One or the other. So. Okay, we're going to get on from that one before I get in trouble. Let's see. So one of the stories we wanted to lead off today, this comes to us from NPR. And if you remember, I commented specifically about my friend Penguin 6. They'd been on him to take photos of the president's hand. The editors had at the newspapers. And so the photos you see where they zoom in on President Trump's hand were his. So, and because of that, in transparency, they had a press release after, well, I guess we were on the air yesterday, but I saw it breaking in Australia before it broke in the US, because it's really a non-story at all, but they were trying to make something out of it. But he has a circulatory condition known as chronic venous insufficiency, but he remains in excellent health, according to the White House physician. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt called this a common condition, which it is if you look it up, particularly in individuals over the age of 70. Technically, over the age of 50, you start developing the signs, and we know President Trump is 79. He underwent a comprehensive examination after noticing mild swelling in his lower legs in recent weeks, the White House said. Dr. Sean Barbello noted in his memo there was no evidence of DVT, deep vein thrombosis, or an arterial disease, which would be a much more serious condition. And they are not saying when the examination occurred, but if you notice, they had some photos of him when he was traveling abroad of his feet, and then you started seeing the bruise marks on his hand. Chronic venous insufficiency happens when the valves inside the veins stop working properly, so the blood that flows to the heart to pick up oxygen, it tends to pool in the lower extremities. The White House briefing, Leavitt said that acknowledged recent pictures of President Trump bruising on his hands, which she said was attributed to irritation from frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin, which is used to prevent cardiovascular disease. Yeah, they put you on an aspirin once you get about 50. Silly, I know. The circulatory issue was not raised in his annual physical exam in April. The report said blood flow to his extremities is unimpaired. It did note that he takes aspirin for heart health, but concluded, as the memo states, that Trump is in excellent physical condition. And it's basically a disease that prevents blood flowing in the legs back up to the heart because of damaged valve, and blood can gather or pool. And if there's increased pressure, you can see bruising because the capillaries will seep the blood into the skin, as it says here. Cause bruising very easily, and that's amplified when you take aspirin or if you take NSAIDs. Causes reddish brown area in the area, as well as tissue inflammation and damage. The worst cases, it will seep out and cause ulcers, but you have to really be out of shape and in poor physical condition for that. It affects about 40% of Americans, particularly women, middle-aged, and elderly, according to the Society for Vascular Surgery. The veins, particularly the lower extremity, are very thin-walled structures. They have valves so that when you stand up, the blood doesn't rush to your feet. That's correct, gravity. And these valves close. But over time, they become dysfunctional, and according to a doctor at the University of Washington. And what are the symptoms? Well, pain in legs, cramps, aches, pins and needles, reddish brown skin, swelling in the legs, ankles in particular after standing for a long time near the end of the day. And I'll add a caveat there. If at night when you lay down, you put your feet up and the next morning the swelling is reduced, you probably don't have any health issues. But if they're still swollen, you need to see a doctor. So pay attention to the swelling in the legs, ankles, particularly after standing. If it doesn't go away, flaky, itchy skin on the legs and feet, ulcers, and varicose veins. How severe is it? Well, it's not life-threatening and does not usually require amputation. Boy, that would be extreme, though it is not reversible. Well, that's true because we can't anti-age. Venous disorders such as DVT and chronic venous insufficiencies have 6 stages. A person who has had deep vein thrombosis is most likely diagnosed with a chronic venous insufficiency, and it's given at the 3rd stage. And so everybody starts at stage 0, where there's a little mild pain. Stage 1, you're able to see your blood vessels, which may manifest as spider veins in some. Stage 2, varicose veins appear at the width of at least 3 millimeters. Stage 3, swelling begins. Stage 4, the color and texture of your skin begins to change. You should have seen a doctor before you get there. Stage 5, healed ulcers appear. Stage 6, active ulcers appear. How's it treated? Well, you can do it several ways, but here you go. Here's your doctor's advice. Exercise, undergo compression therapy, which is pretty much put on some compression socks, especially if you're elderly and you fly, you should probably wear them anyhow. Maintain a healthy weight. Yeah. Blood thinners will help increase the problem, so try not to take them, but now society has everybody on an aspirin. Non-surgical are also injecting foam or liquid into the veins, which I wouldn't recommend, cause it to disappear or collapse. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that, but that is one of the treatments. And you can do a microincision phlebotomy, and they can go in and make small punctures and cuts and fix the problem. But that's if it's severe, and probably if you have a lot of money. And if it's the worst case, you can get a vein bypass, which is probably right before they say we're going to cut it off. So I would say they're probably just telling President Trump, exercise more. That's it. I mean, he's 79. Let's be honest. We all age. Let's see. Let me skate up here and catch up with the comments. Glenn, let's see. Wendell says he remembers when Mandela died in prison, and then he was released 3 years later. And let's see. Elmo had a few too many and said some things of thought better not the next day. Yeah. Does that mean he can't get it up anymore? No, actually, Wendell, that could help pull blood in certain locations. But yes, there is a fix for that too. It's a little blue pill. Uh, and Chris says, many people have said that nobody has had a more comprehensive exam in presidential history. And people did not know how such a big, beautiful exam results were even possible. Chris should keep me on my toes. Viagra or Blue Chew? Well, Wendell, you'll have to let me know which is better because I don't know. I think for Blue Chew, you can order it over the internet. In Viagra, you have to go to your doctor's office. So that might answer the questions. Anything you get off the internet, yeah, it could be a little shady. Could be real, could be shady. Who knows? All right, this was another thing, and we're one of the few shows talking about it. Of course, I guarantee you tonight they will be. I know they watch me. They just don't subscribe. That's all right, Black Scout. I still love you. And the modern, I don't know, what is his name? The Popular Report. I know he watches me. He doesn't subscribe, but what's the other guy? I was the first prepper channel on the internet for 10 years. Dude, seriously, take your sunglasses off. Get a life. So, yeah, we're the first reporting on this. The Army has sent out a letter warning special operations veterans in Florida of potential terrorist threats. And the U.S. Army SO Command has warned of unspecified terrorist threats against retired senior Defense Department officials who served in Iraq, Syria, and now live in Florida. The U.S. Army Special Operations Command, or USASOC, has warned of a potential terrorist threat against retired senior officials who worked in the DoD, served in Syria and Iraq, and currently live in Florida. Lieutenant Colonel Ali Scott, a spokesperson for command, confirmed on Friday. The New York Times first reported about this after the duty to warn notification. Well, it hit social media first. That's how most good stories get out there. Is they hit social media and then the government has to acknowledge it. Hold on, I didn't mean for that to happen. So get off of there. It's a credible threat, said Task and Purpose, which is a paper we frequently show here. Well, crap, I was going to show you the image of it, but I don't guess I got it. Credible threat, according to Task and Purpose, which is one news source we use here. And we issued that warning as we do with all credible threats. And we issued those to our formations. Of course, the security and safety of all of our personnel is important. They notified those directly affected by the threat, and she was unable to provide more information. Well, she shouldn't, because just as I'm reading this, I'm sure some bad guy can read it. So she wouldn't say exactly what prompted the warning, but social media sources say that it is basically a code red, that it's not going to happen. It's about to happen. So, and we know that the Special Operations Command is headquartered at MacDill Air Force Base in Florida, and also home of some of the U.S. Southern Command in Miami. And since 2014, the United States military has led a coalition to defeat ISIS in Iraq and Syria. And they announced in March that it had killed ISIS second in command in Western Iraq. And they often launch raids against ISIS and operations to kill group leaders. The duty to warn is what they're calling it, was issued on Thursday. Does not provide specific details on the exact nature of the possible threat. Although there are no indications that active duty personnel are being targeted, they urged all soldiers to remain alert, report any suspicious activity to the appropriate authorities. And the command also asks its personnel to share the warning with any retired Special Forces members they know who live in Florida. So it's about to happen is basically what that threat is. So if you know anybody in Florida that's retired military, well, you might want to notify them if they're not already on social media. So let's see here. Issued the warning to senior militaries, but of course it made its way out to social media. It's called a Did that bring me back online? Maybe. Wrong button. And still not playing on YouTube. So I'm thinking this is a YouTube issue. I don't know what the problem is. So, as far as I can tell, I am still live everywhere else. So, check with Radio X in Australia. Yeah.
As far as I can tell, I am still live everywhere else.
Yes, I am live in Australia. Restart the
Radio X in Australia.
Restart the
As far as I
meter.
can tell, I am still live everywhere. Live in Australia.
Oh, that's annoying.
Restart the.
All right, so let me know if anything changes on the video side. We're having trouble with YouTube, guys. Apparently, we're having trouble with YouTube. Apparently, YouTube is down, and so it has killed the video. I think that YouTube is down, so we'll check and see with Down Detector. That's a site you often go to and see if there are any problems with YouTube. And it does appear they are having some issues. It said that they had some problems. They're having problems on YouTube. Let's see if we can pull up on Down Detector. Anybody that's watching online or listening, you can always check out things if things start going astray by going to downdetector.com and checking and seeing where issues are. And I'm looking at the Down Detector map, and it's showing that there's large portions of the country for YouTube are down at this time. So, all right, it's trying to catch me up.
Still not playing on YouTube, so I'm thinking this is a YouTube issue.
No, wait a minute. Let's see here. I think I'm back. Am I back? I think I'm back. Well, I was back. Huh. Yeah, YouTube is having problems. YouTube is down in multiple places. Wendell says, check your chat more frequently. Well, I try and check it.
What the problem is.
But YouTube apparently is down.
As far as I can tell, I am still live everywhere else. So, check with Radio X in Australia. Yeah. As far as I can tell, I am still live everywhere else.
Yes,
I am live in Australia.
All right, so
Start the Radio X in Australia.
I'm just a little behind, but now it's back on. So, which is weird.
Oh, that's a good one. Right, so let me know if anything changes on the video side. We're having trouble with YouTube, guys. Apparently,
I'm just going to continue on because apparently they're having a great delay right now, which is really weird. So the chat won't be up to date, but at least you'll have audio video. So we've wasted a lot of time on this. So let's go ahead and kill my. All right. So Wendell says that they see and hear me now. So let's just continue on like we're having a real show. I don't know what happened with YouTube. All right. So we're getting back to President Trump, and where he apparently doodled a naked art. And then he said that he didn't draw. He had no records of drawing. He had never drawn. Well, apparently that is not true. He has done some drawings because there's some drawings produced by him. You can see this was put out by the Wall Street Journal. But the Denise says, yay, thank God we're back. But these are drawings if you're looking of buildings. So I could see that as something he would do. And apparently he sold a number of drawings at a charity auction. One was a sketch of the Empire State Building, and they did reflect with his traditional signature. So the Guardian had these drawings that he apparently did produce and he did sell. This was his Skyline in 2004. So when he went and said last night, boy, that's not proper English. When he said last night, let me put these back on. When he said last night that he had not drawn, well, they were quick to find these sketches. No, Wendell, the show is never real. The show is never real. So let me messages and tell them that there was an issue. So, all right. So last night he came out and said, I've never drawn images. And then, well, they were quick to find these, but these are all pictures of buildings and inanimate objects. There's no record of him drawing any people. So, him saying he has never done any drawings is not exactly true, but then again, they did find these drawings. So these are published in Newsweek, but what I want everybody to take away about this is none of the accusations have been verified. So the article in the Wall Street Journal says that it has talked to somebody who's an anonymous source who has seen them, but they don't have a copy of them. So President Trump obviously is threatening to sue the Wall Street Journal because he claims that he never did a sketch of a naked woman. And the outlet claims that he did. And he said, this is not me. This is a fake thing. And he followed up with a lengthy statement on his Truth Social. The Wall Street Journal and Robert Murdoch personally were warned directly by President Trump that the supposed letter that they printed by Trump to Epstein was a fake, and if they printed it, they would be sued. Mr. Murdoch stated that the Wall Street Journal, Emma Tucker, was told directly by Carolyn Levitt and President Trump that the letter was fake, but Emma Tucker didn't want to hear that. Instead, they're going to with a false, malicious, and defamatory story. So he's going to sue them. And then he goes on to talk about how he has sued and won many people. So, okay, well, Ross says I'm live. So, all right, we're just going to keep on rolling. So anyhow, the Wall Street Journal is pushing back, but we have not seen the drawing. We only have someone saying to the Wall Street Journal reporter that the drawing exists due to somebody that she says told her. So I don't know. That has yet to be fact checked. So, but it has brought up some other issues. Now, this is something we reported the other day, and I thought that I saw somewhere, and I thought I showed it. I need to go back and verify this, that the House had voted to release the Epstein file, but apparently they did not. So, because it was reported that all but like two Republicans had said no. But anyhow, now they're grasping late Thursday to formulate a response to the handling of the records of Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking case, ultimately putting forward a resolution that carries, quote, no legal weight, but nodded to the growing demand for greater transparency. The House resolution, which could potentially be voted on next week, will do practically nothing to force the DOJ to release the records. Still, it showed more backlash from the Republican base, and Trump is getting pressure by his administration and GOP lawmakers. The House was held up for hours Thursday from final consideration of President Trump's request for $9 billion in government funding cuts because GOP leaders are trying to respond to demands from their own ranks that they weigh in on the Epstein files. In the late evening, they settled on the resolution as an attempt to simultaneously placate calls from the far right for greater transparency and satisfy Trump, who has called the issue a hoax, and that his supporters should forget about it. He was a little bit more stern than that. Yet the House resolution was the last demonstration of practically no one is moving on from Attorney Attorney General Pam Bondi's promise to publicly release documents that were related to the Epstein case. Since he was found dead in his New York City jail cell in August of 19, following the arrest of sex trafficking charges, and well-connected financier has loomed large among conservatives and conspiracy theorists who have lashed out at Trump and Bondi for declining to release more files in the case. The House Republicans want transparency, and they're looking for a way to do that and agree with the White House. So, Democratic leaders vehemently decried the resolution lack of force, and they advanced their own legislation. Of course they did. They're going to argue about this. All they did was a glorified press release, according to one Democrat. He is under pressure from his own members, and they're wanting some action. And Trump in recent years suggested he would release more information about the investigation into Epstein. So he's going to have to do something. And I heard one news spokesperson yesterday saying that part of the reason that he hadn't done that is because they were being held by an attorney that was in the DOJ that was a family member of someone from the previous administration, and there were some fallacies in it. Now, whether or not that is true, they've removed that person from the current administration, and now they're looking at other things. I don't know if now they have more files because someone was sitting on them or what. This is an ongoing thing, and it's going to continue for a while. And Trump calling for his base or his fans, whatever you want to call it, I think you should call it the American people, to get over it and move on, I think is either very wrong and misguided, or he knows something we don't know and he hasn't told us. So either way, the can of worms is open. It's hard to put the worms back into the bottle. So we need to come to a way of getting justice for the women and children that were harmed by these sick, deprived individuals, no matter if they were celebrities or if they were the guy walking the street corner with us every day. So, all right, that's my opinion. That's my 2 cents. I'm not going to stop beating the drum that we need these out. We need more transparency to get the information, and we need to put people in jail. I want justice. I don't care. You don't have to tell me what they did, who did what. Just, I want to see some prosecution of bad guys. Like this, for instance. This comes to us from The Hill. Former VOA, Voice of America employee indicted for allegedly threatening to kill Greene. When, if you know who I'm talking about, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's a Republican senator from Georgia. A former VOA employee has been indicted by grand jury over allegations that he threatened to kill her along with her family members. See, this is the problem with doxing people. You don't just take down the one person. You go after their family, their grandkids, their children, their pets. Stop. We're a civilization with laws. So stop that. Anyhow, the four-count indictment, which was unsealed Thursday, charges Seth Jason of Edgewater, Maryland, with influencing a federal official by threatening a family member, anonymous telecommunication harassment, influencing a federal official by threat, and interstate communication with a threat to injure or kidnap. According to the indictment, he allegedly issued repeated threats from January through early January of this year against Greene's family members from 2003 to early 2025, threatened to assault and kill her. The indictment showed Jason, a former VOA worker, was arrested by the U.S. Capitol Police and the Anne Arundel County, Maryland Police Department early Thursday morning. The probe from the Capitol Police found that calls were placed from various phone lines linked to the studios and control room at the VOA headquarters in Washington, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C. He threatened to use firearms to kill Greene, her staff, and their families in 8 calls made over 15 months, the U.S. Attorney's Office said. For 15 months, I've received terrifying death threats from one individual who worked alarmingly close to my office building at the VOA. That kind of sustained targeted harassment is deeply disturbing. I truly feared for my life, as I do with all death threats I receive, she said in a statement emailed to The Hill. I want to thank U.S. Attorney Jean Perillo, senior advisor Carrie Lake, the Capitol Police, and the prosecutors who took the threat seriously and acted decisively to stop someone who was planning to kill me. Lake, who is also serving as U.S. President Trump's general. Hold on, we're going to try this again. Lake, who is serving as President Trump's United States Agency for Global Media advisor, good Lord, that's a title, thanked the interim attorney in the District Columbia, Jean Perino, for taking this threat seriously. I'm sickened by what Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, her staff, and their families had to go through as the threats persisted for 15 months. Like said in a Thursday post on the social platform X, it angers me that taxpayer-funded VOA employee would use taxpayer-funded equipment in a brave way to threaten the lives of people, including an elected official. If he is found guilty, I hope he is sentenced to the maximum amount of time behind bars. He has worked at the VOA since the early 2000s, according to his LinkedIn. Rome, Georgia Police Department late last year received an email containing a bomb threat directed towards Marjorie Taylor Greene. The House member later confirmed she was safe, and the investigation was turned over to the FBI. In late 2024, a Georgia man pled guilty to threatening to kill her from Atlanta. So this is what goes on in our society currently. All right, let's see here. Chris says, I do see, by the way, Wendell, if you're still here, I do see out of the corner of my eye, but I don't always look at them right away. Chris says, it's a really bad look. Anything released now looks like they did it because they were forced. If anything is in there, they were shielding predators that could have done more wrong. Well, you're correct, Chris. Let's also remember that the previous attorney general had this as well. And so nothing was done there either. So this has been something they've been sitting on for a while that is wrong. Like I said, it doesn't matter to me what color your tie is, red or blue, who you vote for. If you're a bad guy, you need to be put in jail. So, and speaking of that, this comes to us from the New York Post, and it comes about a teen arrested for alleged bomb threat on plane, but mommy says it was just a joke. He's a good kid. Well, you can't joke about certain things. Teenage boy vacations ended with a one-way ticket to juvenile detention after he allegedly made a bomb threat aboard a Spirit Airlines flight leaving Fort Lauderdale. But his mom says it was just a dumb joke. The 16-year-old, who was headed back to Kansas with family and friends, Monday was arrested at about 3:15 p.m. at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport after allegedly blurting out, "I have a bomb in my pocket," as the plane was preparing for takeoff. Cue panic in the aisles. A fellow passenger overheard the comment and reported him triggering a full-blown security response and evacuating the plane. The unidentified teen was hauled off the flight by Broward County Sheriff's Department per people later charged with criminal mischief of $1,000 or more and making false reports of a bomb or explosive. But his mother insists that the offhanded comment was never meant as a threat, just immature, quote, slang gone very, very wrong. He's a good kid, she told the Miami Herald, added that he was just joking about his masculinity. Spirit Airlines confirmed the mid-air mayhem in a statement made to NBC Miami, saying the aircraft taxied to a remote location and the guests were safely unplaned. The plane was inspected and cleared by law enforcement. It's no funny joke. It cost Spirit an estimated $50,000 in delays and disruption, according to a testimony in juvenile court Tuesday. And apparently, a viral TikTok has taken off from inside the cabin, showing the moment the boy was escorted off of the aircraft as confused passengers were forced onto the tarmac. The plane was originally scheduled to take off at 2:37 and didn't leave the ground until 7:44. I would just like to ask for grace in this matter, the boy's father, Philip Schmidt, said at the hearing via Zoom. I don't believe he acted criminally. He was acting immature. 16-year-old, in my opinion. The teen's lawyer argued that the facts don't even clearly place the comment on the aircraft. There was one statement, I have a, quote, bomb in my pocket, the attorney said. But the problem is it doesn't say where this was. Was this on the plane? Was it in the airport? Was it on the way to the airport? None of it mattered to the judge, who ordered the teen to undergo a psychological evaluation and remain in custody at juvenile facility. Missouri native have reportedly been staying in South Florida with family friends before heading home in what was supposed to be a smooth flight with zero explosive punchlines. No explosives were found on board the plane, and no one was injured except Spirit's schedule and the boys' summer planned. As previously reported by the Post, a Michigan man allegedly phoned in a fake bomb threat 3 months after Spirit Airline would let him board his flight. Allegedly phoned in a fake bomb threat last month after Spirit Airlines wouldn't let him board his flight, forcing passengers to deplane and sparking an FBI response. Charles Robinson, 23, was reportedly missed his chance to board flight 2145 out of Detroit, then blew up at customer service agents when they told him to rebook. In a wild act of revenge, he called in a bogus bond threat around 6:45 a.m., even making up would-be terrorists and giving authorities a full description, the prosecutor said. And it looks like Spirit summer travelers are getting more bang than what they prepared for. No explosives, just explosive behavior. At least the reporter's got a sense of humor about it. And yes, he is a dumbass for doing that. So, and well, there's not the only one, because apparently there was another one. Authorities identified a Nebraska man. An Omaha Detroit flight was diverted. And this comes to us from First Alert 6 out of Omaha. And authorities identified the man arrested Thursday after a plane traveling from Omaha to Detroit was diverted to Cedar Rapids. In an update on social media, the Cedar Rapids Police Department said officers were called to the Eastern Iowa airport shortly after 6 p.m. Thursday, Iowa town authorities said Friday that officers had escorted Mario Nikaprach of Nebraska off the plane and arrested him. He was arrested on charges of disorderly conduct, assault, possession of prescription medication, tax stamp, not sure what that means, and first-degree harassment in connection to the incident in which he was taken to the correctional facility. Said further charges are ongoing, and SkyWest confirmed that flight 3612 from Omaha to Detroit had to divert to Cedar Rapids so law enforcement could escort him from the flight. They say the man tried to open an exit road door, then fought with flight attendants and crew and passengers. They say they have zero tolerance for this. And, well, they shouldn't. So,
thank you. We do have an update.
I don't know if they're going to have the video or not on here, but it's something you shouldn't do is try and open the plane's door while on the plane. Oh, yeah, there's the police taking the man off. And, poor fella. He should have known better. Jeez. All right, this one, it gets me. I just don't understand this story. Denise, maybe you can help me make some sense of this. And yes, they should ban the kid from flying for the rest of his life. So the police, this comes to us from Eyewitness News 7 out of New York City. Police are searching for a woman accused of taking a locked New York subway train for a joyride. Now, let me read that headline to you again, in case you misunderstood me. The police are searching for a woman accused of taking a locked New York subway train for a joyride in Queens. And this is not the first time, apparently. Not this particular person, but apparently this has happened frequently. Police are searching for a woman who they say broke into a locked subway train and took it for a joyride. The incident occurred around 4:30 on Thursday. Police say an unidentified woman gained access inside a locked north train at Broadway Station, then moved it southbound one stop to the 36th Avenue station in Astoria. The MTA says the train was not in service and no one was on board when it was taken, and there were no impacts to service on Thursday. Police say no one was injured and there were no reports of damage. Now, this is what gets me. This is not the first time a subway train has been taken for a joyride. It's a train. How do you take a train on a joyride? According to TW Local 100, cab doors are routinely locked, but the key is standard and works on every subway train in the transit system. They say keys are either stolen or purchased on the black market. Is this something you buy on eBay? I'm asking seriously. Can you buy a key to a train on eBay? In March, 2 suspects punched a conductor interface at the Park Slope station, stole her keys to the cab door. Police said they already had a set of keys, though. In January, 15 and 17-year-old boys were arrested after driving an R train at more than 30 miles an hour under the streets of Sunset Park. And in September, 2 other teens were arrested for doing something similar in Queens. The MTA said it's been putting locks on those doors and is working on new technology to restrict access to the conductor cabs. It's really for biometrics, said MTA chairman and CEO back in April. Unfortunately, these old trains, we need to have modern security system on them. It's one of the things we're spending a lot of money on in the next capital program. What? Okay, wait a minute. 9/11, 2001 is 2025. And you can apparently go in New York City and just hop on a train, and if you have the keys that apparently you can buy on eBay, and take for a ride. What the hell? What the absolute hell? I'm going to search this out. I want to see how many people have actually done this. Oh. All right. In this story, what comes to us from multiple sources, CBS, ABC, and Fox, and CNN. And there's just one thing I want to get into. Denise says, I've seen conductors have their girlfriends in their cab sound hanky-panky. Well, at least they're hired and are able to drive the train. I mean, how hard could it be to drive a train? It's probably just pushing some buttons, but to get a key, first off, to get in, then you have a key. I'm going to go eBay and see if you can just buy one of these. I'll probably get arrested for it. And then just drive the train. And they're on a track. Can't you somehow say, hey, Bob, the train over there, it's not supposed to be moving on the screen. Oh, my God. My head hurts. The stupidity. All right. So this comes to us, like I said, from CBS, ABC, and Fox. It's kind of a compiled article, but there is one thing I want to take away from this, and this is a quote from a judge. Lawfully present non-citizens in the United States, likely have the same First Amendment rights as U.S. citizens, a federal judge said on Thursday, even in cases of free speech some feel as repugnant political message. All right, this is what I want to get to you, because this just, you're a federal judge, you can do better. I'm asking if a lawfully non-citizen has the same rights as a citizen. Judge William G. Young said Thursday, and I'm quoting him, probably they do, period. The answer is in the affirmative, period. Again, we are talking about pure speech. Probably do. Probably do. He's a federal judge. He can do better. Then he qualifies that as affirmative, but only talking about pure speech. So this is going to be definitely making its way up to a higher level court, because that is not an affirmative yes or an affirmative no when you have a federal judge say in his ruling they probably do. Probably they do. And in the definition of pure speech will have to be legislated and judiciated. So they're talking about free speech in people who are here, and they're doing anti-Semitic type behavior. And that's what this case is. And the lawyers are saying that it is protected under the First Amendment. So we will watch this case go up, but a federal judge, you can do better. He learned to speak. This article comes to us from the New York Post, but it's about a CBS News reporter. Scott McFarland said that he got PTSD from the Trump assassination attempt because of crowd anger at media. CBS correspondent Scott MacFarlane wildly claims he was diagnosed with PTSD within 48 hours of the presidential assassination attempt last summer because he was convinced the crowd was going to murder him and our other members of the media. For those of us there, it was such a horror because you saw an emerging America, the reporter said, the attendees at Trump's campaign in Butler, who famously rushed to provide assistance to those injured in the shooting. I got diagnosed with PTSD within 48 hours. I got put on trauma leave, not because I think of the shooting, but because you could. You saw it in the eyes, the reaction of the people. He whimpered on an episode of the Chuck Toddcast podcast. You change your name, Toddcast podcast. They were coming for us. If we didn't jump up, if he didn't jump up with the fist, they were going to come kill us, he said in a reference to a now iconic photo of a bloody Trump pushing past the Secret Service detail, yelling, "Fight, fight, fight." Many of us on press row, because we had talked about this on our text chains weeks after, were quite confident we'd be dead if he didn't get back up, he said. When he jumped up triumphantly, it saved us. MacFarlane further claims dozens of people in the audience instantly turned on members of the media, calling out, "You did this. This is your fault. You caused this. You killed him," and speculating they were about to beat us with their hands. Host Chuck Todd, who said he was on a flight to the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee at the time of the assassination attempt, said the U.S. has become a tinderbox in recent years. Look, let's be honest. We have been fearing this for about a decade. This all his heightened rhetoric, all of this crap online. What happened on January 6th? We are a tinderbox. There's a fear for this moment is coming, he said, appearing to lend some credence to MacFarlane's unhinged assertions. The fact that we dodged that, you're right. I don't know what would have happened had the outcome been different. MacFarlane, hinting he hasn't quite fully shaking off the PTSD, added, "I can't eliminate from my mind's eye the look in their faces," he said, narrowing his gaze in effective, grave tone. That's what America is now. It's not rational. It's an irrational thought to think the media shot somebody from the top of the building. Thomas Matthew Crooks, 20, opened file at Trump as Trump was addressing a crowd on July 13th, 2024, wounding the president and two others and killing a former fire chief, Corey Compatore, who died protecting his family from the assassin's bullets. Crooks was shot dead by the Secret Service moments later. Shouldn't it be worded seconds later? Okay. I'm gonna, Denise, you're correct. It is not covered under the 911 victims compensation. It's not considered to be an on-duty injury for EMS or fire, although police is reconsidering that since some things occurred at the Capitol on January 6th, because there was members who took their own life. They changed them to line of duty death because of PTSD. But I do want to go on here and say, I spent 30 some years on the streets. I've seen some pretty bad things. I've been shot at. I've been threatened to be stabbed. I've been bit. All kinds of crazy things. If this man was a perfectly normal individual and had a suit and tie job every day of the week, you couldn't get diagnosed within 48 hours of an event. First off, you would have a problem getting an appointment in our current mental health capacity. Second off, the diagnosis takes much longer. And he said that he was diagnosed within 48 hours. So I'm not making light of anyone with PTSD because I have it. I know many people who do, but this gentleman is giving facts incorrectly. And you can't be diagnosed within 48 hours. It's not possible. And that's, I wonder, he said he was placed on trauma leave. I've never heard of those words. He was put on trauma leave. So does that mean he's not being paid? I think there's more to that story. So, and Denise, you brought this story up yesterday. Man, I'm running way on time here today. So, man gets sucked into an MRI machine entering a room wearing a metal chain. All right. A 61-year-old man was strangled by his own necklace after getting sucked into an MRI machine in Long Island while visiting a open MRI. All right. The investigation continues. The man is in critical condition after he was sucked into the MRI machine on Long Island while wearing a large metal necklace while a scan was ongoing, according to police. Freak accident occurred Wednesday afternoon when the unidentified man walked into the exam room at the Nassau Open MRI, sporting a chunky metal chain while a scan was already underway. Authorities said the man, who was not authorized to enter the Westbury, Long Island imaging room, suffered a medical episode after he was forcefully pulled into the machine by the machine's magnet. He was rushed to a local hospital where he's listed in critical condition with unknown injuries. And everybody knows when the door is closed, do not enter, said one patient at the facility, according to the outlet. That's surprising. Not immediately clears that the 61-year-old was a patient at the MRI center at the time of the incident or how he came into the room. And MRI, or magnetic resonance, good Lord, you'd think I wasn't in the medical field. Imaging machines are powerful magnet fields that require patients and physician to remove jewelry and other metallic objects for safety reasons. They stress that these incidents are rare, but they do happen. They can range from minor burns to cuts, severe wounds, and in one case, decades ago, fatalities. There was one where oxygen tank was left there and it was pulled in and hit a guy in the head and killed him. I do know that one because it was an EMS crew that left him there. The man was wearing a necklace, was likely asphyxiated or strangulated after being pulled into the MRI machine. What about the poor patient that was having their MRI? And Chris, you're correct. How big was the chain? I mean, these are questions that need to be answered. Welcome, KG. Glad you're here. You missed earlier when the show just went to shit. So, all right, we're gonna scan over this real quick because we're gonna run out of time from doing our normal stuff. But Pepsi is going to return to sugar as well, getting away for fructose corn syrup. So, Pepsi, we'll talk about that later. And in Louisville, Kentucky, they're changing their 911 system to have a medical advice line. That way, emergent calls are getting answered quicker. I think more systems need to adopt this, but unfortunately, lawyers will probably get involved. All right, so let's go over here to what we normally do. Was it a tow truck chain? I would love to know. Denise, my email address is in the show notes. Sportcat@protonmail.com. If you find out anything more on this, please email me and let me know, or put it in the Sportcat Daily Gazette group chat on Facebook. You can go over to Facebook and search out Sportcat's Daily Gazette and join our group, post pictures, interact with fans, and, well, just have a good old time. And once again, I appreciate everybody at Yerg's Radio and Rainbow X Dare Media for sticking with me during the technical difficulties we had earlier. So thank you for tolerating me putting up with that. Please do come over to YouTube, even though apparently even my pushing the buttons is delayed. And subscribe. I really need your help to get monetized. So, all right. So this is what we do every day. This is the daily operations briefing. This is for Friday, July 18th. This was presented to the president somewhere around 8:30 this morning, but they didn't give us the secret squirrel information that he got. So the national current operations are things they're monitoring. Well, there's potential flooding preparations in lower Mississippi Valley because, well, we all know there's a big storm coming. And they're monitoring heavy rain, flash flooding in the Southwest, Gulf Coast, Central Plains to Mid-Atlantic. And then we're looking at severe weather from the Midwest to the Mid-Atlantic. No declarations have been made since yesterday. Nothing new. And they're talking about potential flooding in lower Mississippi Valley. And this should, everybody who listens to my show, if in a few weeks they come out and say that FEMA wasn't prepared, they've been talking about this and making plans. So if you want to go back and read their daily briefing, you can see. So they've already started moving assets to other locations to help. But the problem is we can't be put in danger. So they're making preparations. So And in the tropical outlook, well, after this, it appears pretty clear in the western, in the central and eastern Pacific, and then in the Atlantic, although that may change. All right. So for today's forecast in the U.S., heavy rain and flooding in the Gulf Coast from the Texas Panhandle, really all the way around almost to Tallahassee. You can expect some severe rain, thunderstorms, high winds. And then as you go up further the coast, off the coast of the Carolinas, inland, all the way pretty much covering Virginia, Maryland, D.C., you can expect some severe thunderstorms. And that's going to continue to move up into the northeast. And let's not forget about our family and friends out in Wisconsin, Illinois, Missouri, Idaho, Minnesota. You are going to experience some heavy rains, possible severe thunderstorms with some high winds today. That storm is going to merge and move over into the mid-Atlantic and continue out the northeast over the weekend, while the south will be drier. They're anticipating heavy rains down in the Gulf and heavy rains inland from the Carolinas up through the mid-Atlantic, all the way almost to the southwest. I'm sorry, to the northwest. That band is stretching all the way up into Canada, and you can anticipate some heavy rains. Texas, you're in the clear for a day or two, so hang on, Texas. The fire weather, well, Oregon and Washington is where it is most elevated, and then we see that parts of Idaho and Nevada are also a little more slight. The aliens may start the fire. If you remember me talking about that yesterday. All right, we'll scan through this. We'll catch up on that Monday. And let's see what the president is doing today. I don't have his weekend plans, but I can tell you that for today, 9 a.m. in pool camera time, press camera time. And then at 1:30, he participated in the swearing-in ceremony for the commissioner of the IRS. We need to disband that office. At 2:30, he participated in a signing ceremony for the Genius Act, and only pre-credentialed media can get into that. I'm not sure what that is. And then tonight, he's participating in a dinner with Republican senators in the state dining room. It doesn't say what his weekend plans are. They haven't released them yet. Okay, this is pretty much what we talked about with the National Weather Service, with the storms. Want to pay attention to the possibilities for high winds up in the mid-Atlantic down into the Ohio Valley later today, extending all the way over to the Atlantic seaboard. Of course, down in the Gulf of America, pretty much like I said, from the Texas Panhandle all the way through to Tallahassee, maybe even a little bit further to the east, you can anticipate some heavy rains and flooding. In New Mexico, you're not out of the woods for some heavy rains as well, down in the lower northwest. And let's see, let's move on to our next one here because we're running short on time. Currently, there are no tsunami warnings, advisories, watches, or threats. The last earthquake occurred at 12:30 a.m. It was a 5.3 off of the coast of Alaska. But there are no current threats at this moment. We look over here, the 7-day graphic. Some meteorologists are a little bit more bullish on this, saying that the storm could come up, make a turn, and it could either go back out to the Atlantic or could come down into the Gulf and merged with a storm next week. So there's some people talking about that. It's a little far off, but keep your eyes and ears open if you're in the South and the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast coast, because something could be popping soon. All right. And for today, I'm trying to move quickly, guys. Sorry. For today, well, the tornado cast, they're not really saying a whole lot, but I wouldn't rule it out in the mid-Atlantic and the Midwest because the high winds are pretty much going to extend from the Rockies over to the northeastern seaboard. And so I wouldn't rule it out, but I would keep my weather radio near. So they're saying that the possibility is limited, but we heard that Monday or Tuesday, and they ended up having some very severe weather. Our friends down under, let me refresh this. And this is your radar. I'm trying to find a new radar site for you guys. This comes to us from Weather Zone, because if you remember on the weather site I was using, they said the radar was no longer going to be in service. So it was a chilly morning coming in off the coast of the Golden Coast. It's a bit windy. with some slight rain showers that are going to extend to the north and the east, up from Sydney to Brisbane. And then you can expect maybe down around Albany. It'll be a bit windy in the south, but down in Adelaide, it'll be clear and dry. Maybe over the weekend out here that you may have some light rain coming in into Sydney and Adelaide, but it's going to be a chilly weekend, nice and crisp winter's weekend with some potential for light rains if you're along the coastline. All right, so this is current temperatures. And I'm refreshing all these since we're way behind. Denise says the man was 61. They said he's wearing a large metal chain while his scan was in progress. See, that's the person that was doing the scan's fault. They should have taken it off of him. I know every time I went, they're like, you got rings, you got this on, you got that on, whatever. They make you take it all off. So, all right, current temperatures. Oh, all right. So let's talk about this heat wave we're having. The heat wave, there's a little wedge right here in the center. It's to the east of the Mississippi, pretty much in the center. You can anticipate coming up from the Florida Panhandle all the way through the Chesapeake out over the Delmarva Peninsula, maybe even slight short New England region, some intense heat. It's going to start coming out of Florida and moving up. You could see triple digits. That's right. You heard me. Triple digits. Currently in Charlotte, it is, let me change this. We're still in Celsius. Let me change this. But people are probably looking at that going, what? It's not 35 degrees. There's no way. Yeah, it's not. It is definitely not. All right. So currently Atlanta, you're looking at 89. Jacksonville, 93. Tampa, 91. Down in Key West, you're in the high 80s. Up in Washington, D.C., you're at 86, 81 New York, 82 in Boston. Up here in Burlington, 75. Coming back down to where I am in Knox Vegas, it's 85. But we look over here on the western side of the Mississippi, and that other portion of the heat wave is going to be coming up right through the center of the country, right to the Great Lakes, and causing a heat wave over the weekend. Currently, Chicago, you're 74. St. Louis, 85. Kansas, 85. Sioux Falls, 80. Bismarck and Billings, you're getting a little bit of break there. 76, 74. Seattle, 63. And then we can expect some triple digits down in the Southern California region. You're looking at down in Phoenix, it could be, well, it's already 100 degrees. That's Bing. They win the highest temperature for the moment. 90 in Las Vegas. In Los Angeles, it's 80 degrees. San Diego, 72. Let's scan down under and see. It's still morning time in Australia, or overnight hours. Whoop. Brisbane, you're currently 52 degrees. Sydney, 49. Melbourne, 43. Adelaide, 47. Alice Springs, 39. It's kind of chilly there. Maybe a little frost as well. Darwin, 73, so it's warm up there. Broome, 68. Port Hedland, 65. And all the way down in Perth is 46. Maybe over in New Zealand, if you're listening to us there, a slight frost this morning. It's currently 43 degrees in Dunedin and 33 degrees in Hastings. All right. So it appears right now the hottest section of the world is going to be Algeria. Yeah, looks like Algeria, maybe over into towards the peninsula of northwestern peninsula of Africa. Triple digits there. And over in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, you're already looking at 105. Whew. I remember when I visited there, it was 115 degrees in Saudi Arabia. Let's look at weather warnings real quick. We go to our friends at Weather Warn, wxwarn.com, and you can pull up all the weather warnings for the United States. And we see, as usual, there's a test message for Montgomery County, Maryland. Kentucky, you have a flash flood warning. Special weather statement for South Carolina. I'm going to guess that is probably due to the rains. I'm correct, due to Doppler radar. Red flag warning in Oregon and Washington. We discussed that. And special weather statement down in southern Georgia. And there's going to be a small thunderstorm down there. And flood warning in Texas, Missouri, Kentucky. Special weather statement in Nevada. It's probably going to be due to the high heat and a thunderstorm. Yes, correct. And let's see. I don't see any hurricane tornado warnings currently. Lots of flood warnings across the country and heat advisories. So make sure, I tell everyone to make sure you have a weather radio and you have one that's powered by batteries, whether it's USB charger or the old alkaline batteries. Make sure to have one. Hand crank isn't even a bad idea to have one. Have a flashlight at all times. Have some type of pocket tool with you in case you have to cut your way out of the situation, and a genuine, sturdy, trusty light. And make sure everything's charged and ready to go, because we know that the weather has been very crazy. All right, we look here. This is the big picture of the lower 48, and we see the red flags warnings up there in Washington and Oregon, as we discussed. And all the little blue dots are earthquakes. Air quality alerts down in Phoenix and over just to the southwest of Denver. And we see that storm is really still not formed it as strong as it was going to. Some smaller bands have come through, but the worst part is still out here. And that's where we're going to get the flood watches and flood warnings down in the lower Louisiana, lower Alabama, and of course the panhandle of Florida. Georgia, you've got some spotty showers up in East Tennessee. This side of the Appalachia, we can expect a small band to move through as it's going over to the northeast. And then up in Southwest Virginia, you're going to experience some heavy rains today. So New England, it's going to be cool and dry. So lucky you. Here in the South. Yeah, it's hot. I don't like triple digits. All right, we're going to look at the current lightning activity real quick. And it looks like the most intense storms are currently in the south, in Alabama, Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Montgomery, over to the Meridian, Mississippi. That band that's already come in, there's some intense lightning there. And up in Kentucky, you have some intense lightning there, as well as in, where we're looking at, this is in, this is south of St. Louis, Missouri, cell there. Sorry, I'm brain cramp. Make sure this was a message telling me I'm offline again. All right, it's not. Let's see. Over on the coast of Virginia Beach, up at the entrance of Chesapeake Bay, you have a pretty good cell there. Charleston, you're getting hammered at the moment, so take cover there. If you hear thunder, take cover, because there's lightning nearby, and trust me, it's not your friends. All right, so we see most of the storms are currently located in the South and the Mid-Atlantic. All right, let me move on quickly because we are running short of time. We're looking at the power outages for the U.S., and it looks like everybody is less than 10,000 people in the United States without power, so that's good news. And our Earth wind map, we talk about this daily, but for anybody that's just listening on the audio side, come over to the Paranormal Guys, search out the Sportcat shows, and you can see our big, blue, round, beautiful, perfect globe, and it's showing AI wind patterns. And we can see, if we zoom in on the lower 48, you can see that wedge that's actually pretty much along the Mississippi, that's separating the winds coming out of the Gulf, going over towards the Atlantic and up towards the Rockies and out through Canada. And then down in the Gulf, most of that wind that is being generated is coming out of the Gulf, extending from the coast of Africa. We'll hop down to Australia real quick. And it was windy off your Gold Coast and off of your southern coastline is experiencing some high winds currently. All right, let's jump on to the next screen because we are running short on time, guys and gals. This is the fire map. And if you remember yesterday, we talked about the big fires out in Nevada. They're still experiencing problems all on the western side of the Rockies, extending up into Canada. And if we zoom in or zoom out and we look at the bigger picture, Canada is really, really, really having problems with wildfires this season. And we also see so is Alaska. Alaska's had earthquakes and wildfires. And it looks like up here in Nova Scotia, there's a small fire. Jump down to Australia and see what the picture looks like down there. Well, maybe I can't. I thought I could. Apparently I can't. All right, well, that's fine. I was going to see what wildfires look like down there, but apparently I can't. All right, current air quality conditions in the lower 48. We see that the worst air is currently pretty much from Houston to Dallas, Oklahoma City, up to Kansas, and back over towards El Paso is where the worst air is. That's probably because of the front pushing it out of the Gulf. And we see some, well, it's kind of over Tallahassee, maybe Panama City, lower Alabama, extending up into Georgia. And then on the western side of the Rockies, it's spotty air that's moderate conditions. So, all right. Okay, this one does show us the smoke conditions. We're out of order too today. We see that it's smoky from the west extending up to the mid-Atlantic region over and out through the northern Ohio Valley, and it merges over the Great Lakes and goes out to the eastern seaboard with the smoke, but the most dense part is still up in Canada. So, all right. And this is the current air quality in the world. We see the United States is brown from the dust and the smoke. There's very few parts of the country except up here when you get above Washington, D.C., extending up into the northeast, their air quality is pretty good. Along the Great Lakes isn't too bad. That's about the best spots in the country. Down in Australia, you always look like you're having better air quality than us, and that is the case as is today, except for pretty much the center of the continent, Alice Springs, down to, was that Port Lincoln, and up and out over Broome is some poor air quality, but I'm going to guess that's due to fires. All right, I'll update this real quick. And I want to continue on desktop. All right, so what? I wanted list. Why are you giving me this? I wanted list. Okay, I agree. All right, so an hour and 52 minutes ago, there was a 3.1 on the Richter scale in central Turkey, and 6 hours ago off of the coast of Peru, 3.6. The largest one was in Miramar 9 hours ago at 5.4, and 7.3 yesterday was what they ruled that one to be, that triggered the tsunami warnings. And we will zoom out here and see. And this one is saying the most recent one was a 2.6 off the coast of Alaska. And then they jumped down to Argentina. And so, but no tsunami warnings at this time. There's the volcanic activity, still a yellow, but there hasn't been any more activity. But I'm telling you, that area is just ripe for popping off. And then so is this down here in South America, just south of Mexico, going towards Venezuela. That whole area right there is ready to pop off. So we'll keep our eyes on that. The event list for today will only cover things that happened in the past 24 hours. Invisible toll on bird flu apparently they're being calculated in Canada, and yesterday we talked about schools are going to remain closed in Samoa because of dengue disease, and monkeypox case in Cape Town. We discussed that yesterday. United States flesh-eating bacteria has killed 4 in Florida. That was the story I meant to try and headline, but I didn't get to today. Botulism has sickened 6 in France, and in Italy, they are battling West Nile. Haiti, well, it's Haiti. And water supply problems in Ecuador. The capital is rocked by water shortage, upending daily life. In France, they have evacuated a railway station after a gas leak. Let's see. Syria overnight, 37 killed in clashes. Lebanon, 12 killed, 8 injured in Israel airstrikes. And India, 2 killed in an encounter with another. And let's see. India, 20 schools in Delhi have received bomb threats via emails, according to the police. And 2 found dead after shots fired in Sheridan. I'm assuming that is probably Louisiana. And Ukraine military cadet kills 2 instructors. We talked about that yesterday. 1 killed a settlers clash in India. And let's see, it's Pakistan. I'm still looking here. Iraq, 50 killed, many injured as huge fire breaks out in a shopping mall. We discussed that. Outdoors fires, earthquakes, landslide, flooding events. The U.S. has had lots of problems with that. Power outages after storms in Texas. Yeah. Let's see here. Talked about the kid falling into the meat grinder. That sucked. Plane crash killed 1, injured 2 in the Olympia National Park. And let's see. We talked about that yesterday. And most of this, look for some water spouts to come out today out of the Gulf of America during that storm. All right, so we talked about the heat risk. Currently, today, they're most concerned with the Carolinas, Southwest Virginia, up into the northeast Georgia, extending through on the other side of the Appalachia across central Tennessee, all the way to Arkansas. But that wedge is pushing the heat up to the northeast. And by the weekend, it'll be on the left side, the west side of the Mississippi, and they'll be experiencing the heat there. So be hydrated. Make sure that you have a way of getting cool. Stay out of direct sun. Wear sunscreen. But yeah, it's going to be a hot weekend in the South and the Northeast. We look at this real quick before we run out of time. And these are incidents in the United States that were reported. And let's see, that was for a commercial fire in Oakland, California overnight. What was this down in Texas? Fired occupied building. And we look up here into the Northeast. We'll zoom in because I know that we have friends up in New York City. Queens. Detectives are en route after a person was pronounced dead at the ER. Must have rolled in hot. EMS requested emergency for a shooting in Newark. And apparently another shooting in Newark. There was a fire in Edison, New Jersey, an apartment building. And down into Philadelphia, they had a water main break, and they needed help with water quickly. Probably want to make sure that they have water to the hydrants. In Philadelphia, there was a shooting. Female with a gunshot wound in critical condition, unknown perp information. All right, we're running out of time here, but we'll just do some quick things in the USA. We'll start down in Florida, see what's going on down there. Where am I looking at? We're looking at Miami, Oklahoma. Okay, well, saying it's in Florida. Okay. Oklahoma doctor allegedly staged 4-year-old daughter's death as a drowning in Florida. Okay, well, that's why it says Oklahoma. Well, that SOB needs to go to jail. And we jump up here to Kissimmee. After responding to a shooting on West Vine Street, officers launched a homicide investigation to witnesses' statements. Police Works' George Bernal was quickly identified as the subject, and they are looking for this subject. If you happen to see him, call the Kissimmee Police Department. George Bernal. And we'll make our way a little bit further to the north. Atlanta. Well, Atlanta's always happy with shootings in Midtowns. Shocker. Let's see. There's a fire in Smyrna. And we'll hop over to Charlotte. And suspected dead Suspect dead, suspected dead. Well, you're either dead or you're not. Suspect dead after officer involved shooting in Gastonia. And inmate died in Burke County Jail, collapsing, according to the sheriff. We hop up here to Virginia, and we see that they had a citizen carjacked at gunpoint in Woodlawn, Virginia. That's near my old hometown. Let's see. Let's zoom in here. Where is that in Woodlawn? That was near, well, not that far. Where at? It's showing it to be Route 1 in Buckman. Yeah, citizen carjacked at gunpoint in the 3600 block of Buckman Road in Woodlawn. Police on scene investigating as an armed carjacking, a Mercedes C300 taken by 3 individuals armed with guns. The person was also assaulted. It's nice of them. And U.S. Justice is recommending an ex-Kentucky police officer convicted of using excessive force in the deadly Breonna Taylor raid should serve no prison time. All right, I'll read that again. This came out 6 hours ago. The U.S. Justice Department is recommending an ex-Kentucky police officer convicted of using excessive force during the deadly Breonna Taylor raid should serve no prison time. Keep an eye on that headline. I'm sure that one's going to pop up again. And let's see. Getting close on time. Double shooting in, where is this? Maryland. Let's go up here to the northeast, because I know we have friends up there, and see what's going on there besides for stolen rail cars, subway cars. 17-year-old boy injured after being slashed and stabbed in Queens. I've always told you, watch out for the knives. Members of the NYPD crime scene it, carrying evidence bags, shell casings, Goya cans, and other evidence found at the scene. 50-year-old male fatally shot in Queens. All right. There's a fire down, what is this, Manhattan, Brooklyn, all hands on 19th Street, 3rd floor of a 7-story building. In Brooklyn, they had another fire off of 59th Street in a private dwelling. Hop over real quick to Chicago, because I know we have fans over that way, and see what's going on over there. And we see that Chicago Fire had a fire on Lakeshore. No, actually, it was a marine in distress. A boat is on fire. All right. So they had that. Chicago, of course, there's going to be some shootings, shots fired. Officers called if they heard shots fired. They saw suspects running. All right. Unknown. And rolling gunshot call. Yeah, Chicago. Typical Chicago. Let's see. Let's go see if we have any update before we get off the air of the Los Angeles incident. Where is LA? San Francisco, Stockton, down here. Yeah, no. Deputy exchanged gunfire with suspect in Idaho, and police pursuit in West Baker completed with a car crash. CHP appears to have taken one at the scene. All right, so they must have got him in custody. And a woman accused of charging a police officers outside of Southwest Bakerfield Walmart has been booked. All right, and here we go. This is more what we're looking for. Palmdale deputy requesting backup. All right, what is this? The fire. I want to talk about fire. Palmdale County brush fire. Okay, and Lancaster brush fire. And Lancaster armed robbery at a gas station. All right, we're running out of time, folks. I'm sorry, we had the technical difficulties today. Air traffic for the U.S. is currently high. Look at that. There's a lot of military movement currently going on in the U.S., a lot of training, maybe some missions. If you want to take a look at that, go over to Globe and check out the current airplanes aloft. We look as we go out of here in the final minutes at the cyber threat map. Well, as usual, the U.S. is getting hammered, and Australia, well, you're not getting but a couple infections every few minutes, but the United States is being hammered with infections and attacks. And as we saw today, YouTube wasn't happy. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. Hopefully when I come back to you, I will be further south down in Atlanta at my home, and we will be able to have our shows from there from at least for a while. So everybody have a great weekend. Try and stay cool if you're in the lower 48. If you're in Australia, thank you for listening to me while we were trying to figure out the problems. Thank you, Denise. I appreciate all of you all. and I appreciate you putting through my technical difficulties. Everybody have a great weekend. I am going to sign out of here with the song as I normally do, and we will see you on Monday. Actually, let me backtrack a little bit. You will see me on Sunday because we have a show right after the CBS Big Brother show. It's the USA version of Big Brother, and we will be covering it live, 10 o'clock Eastern time local, going over the Sunday night episodes. So if you want to check that out, you can find it on Dare Media, Yerg's Radio, and of course, over here on YouTube, if it's working, you can find it there. So we will be live Sunday night around 10 p.m. And I believe Harley has a show Saturday. I'm not clear if I'll make it or not. Will probably be on the road, but everybody a great weekend. I will talk at you soon. Sportcat is out of here. I got to turn the volume on. See y'all later. Thanks for tuning in.